I still firmly believe people don't really care what you've done. Like, I don't care that you sold. I say this with you on here, but nobody cares. None of my clients know how many houses I've sold. They have no idea what my volume. They want to know that I care.
Welcome back to Unstoppable Agents. Hey, this is the show where real estate agents come to build their business, build their wealth, and build a life of impact and significance. My name is Brian White. I am your host. I'm an agent, a broker, team leader with EXP Realty in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. And each week I get to interview some amazing people and amazing business leaders. These folks are the top 2% of agents across the country. They're the lead killing in business. I'm excited today because I'm joined by Coti Brown from up in Michigan. So Coti, welcome.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you totally told me before and I just spaced it. Where in Michigan are you?
We're mid-Michigan, so we're about an hour north of Detroit and about 20 minutes south of Flint.
Okay, right on. So let's just get this out of the way. If anybody's watching and you've got clients that are moving to that area, I know Coti and her team would love to serve you. Send them your way. We'll include ways for you to reach her in the description. Right on. We should definitely do that. So Coti, tell me about you guys. So your husband and wife team, tell me about that. And like, how did you get started in real estate? How did you get in the business together? Tell me about all the things.
He'd probably tell you that I got into the business and then brought him in kicking and screaming. But short version, we actually lived in Georgia for a period of time. His job took us down there with Caterpillar. We moved to Michigan to be close to family. Our girls, we looked at them and said, they're not getting any younger. We have 3 girls. They're 8, 10, and 12 now. But when we moved here, our youngest was 3. And I said, I don't really want to go back to corporate America. I had been a corporate executive for JP Morgan for years, and I just always loved real estate. And quite frankly, I know we're probably always saying this, you watch HGTV, it's nothing like that. But at the same time, I just loved it. And I grew up a kid that had moved 20 plus times growing up. We lived in trailers and apartments, and we never owned a home growing up. So it was always something that was really on my heart. But short version, I went and got my license, took your test. I started on a team at Berkshire Hathaway. It's because I knew somebody there. I think there's like some crazy stat out there that like 85% of us joined somebody we know to begin with, which kind of makes sense. And I was probably the worst team hire he's ever had because he laid out all his marketing and said, this is how we do business. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm not doing any of that. And so I started on my way. Little did I know about branding myself. So I started there and I grew really quickly. My very first year in business was 2018. I did over 51 deals that year. And from there, he said, I'm going to start a brokerage. You want to start one with me? And I was like, sure, why not? That sounds fun. And it wasn't fun, Brian, at all. It was terrible. And for my mindset, it was not fun. But at that time, we brought my husband in. So that's when he entered the picture, was the fact that he came in and brought that operational side that neither the broker partner or myself had. And we were only at our brokerage for, a little, like right about a year. It took me 1 year to go, this is not a good fit for me. And it might be for somebody, but it wasn't for me. And so that's when I really started looking around. And it was in the middle, like at the beginning of the shutdown, but in the middle of those first couple of weeks when everybody was freaking out, going, what's going to happen with the world?
Yep.
And I remember we had 2 major things happen in our lives, actually. The people we had sold our original house, because we lived in Michigan years before, we sold our original house to, they called us and said, we want you to list our house. And I had always loved this house. And so I went to my husband and I said, I think we should buy back our old house instead of listing it. And he's like, I think you're crazy. I think God talks to you different. The other thing is, in the same exact week, I went to him and I said, I think we should go to EX. And I'll never forget, he said, we already made up your mind. So how long is it going to take us to go there? So we started working together really by just default. Like, we needed an operations person in our broker. And at that point, we'd been working together for a year and it was working really well. Every year after that first year, I've typically done around 60 to 75 deals myself. And if I didn't have him, if we didn't work together, I'd have to hire somebody. It just makes sense.
Right on. I love that story. And I love it when couples find a way to work together because it makes you stronger. How much have you learned about your marriage and each other and your personalities and all of that just by working together? I mean, would you say that you're a lot stronger together through working together that way?
100%. This is so funny because I was literally doing like a post on Instagram right before this about this. I did that. I learned how to slow-mo. That's probably like already past. It's not a trend anymore, right? But I videotaped them this weekend at our lake house slow-mowing. And I'm talking about all the things that you have to learn working together as a couple. And we get those calls probably at least once a week from other husband and wife teams. It started really purely in real estate, but now it's other business owners in our community go, how did you learn to work together? Because I've always wanted to do it. Like, even when I was in corporate America, I feel like God gave me an entrepreneur gene. I was really never meant to work in an office. And at the time, my husband, quite frankly, he'd probably still be happy working in a corporate structure. He loves going to the office. It's just not for me. So bringing him into the fold with me, we had to figure out what worked though. But the beautiful thing for us, and it sounds like you and your wife as well, he loves doing all the things that I don't love. And I love to do all the things he doesn't love. And honestly, I'm a stronger and he's a stronger business person and we're a stronger marriage. But in the beginning, it wasn't like that. In the beginning, just by sheer nature of who we are in our marriage and by our faith, we tried to think that we would just serve each other in this business. Okay, I'll take care of that for you and you take care of this for me. And the problem that led to is we would take care of some of the same things, and balls would get dropped, and then we'd be frustrated with each other. And so we really had to sit down and go, okay, you have to define a role. I'm sure you and your wife have done this. These are your operational pieces of our business. This is my operational pieces of this business. And that has helped tremendously. And then also learning, he just told me this today. He said, if somebody asks me, this is what I'm going to tell them, because we were talking to another husband-wife team last night, and he goes, and then he had to leave the room, and he goes, did you tell him when to shut up about business? And I'm like, no. He's like, that's because you're not good at that. And that's so you have to learn when to turn it off in order to continue to connect as partners in a marriage too.
No, that's so good. Yeah, it's funny. So personality, you learn personalities in our marriage. I'm like all D and my wife is all I. And neither one of us had any detail at all. So we got into business together and we're both looking at each other going, wait, how have we been married so long? Like, how have we, because I had a corporate career before, and I was like, how have we survived? We both needed assistance. Like, we just to live, let alone grow a business. So it's been fun to learn that, to navigate that. So you've been with EXP for 3 years now, give or take? And
yeah, May 1st is our anniversary day.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. You've hit Icon 3 times, so I'm betting that's going to make the list. But what are your 3 favorite things about EXP?
Icon was probably the number one reason I came over here, which was funny when I tell people that, because they're like, you owned a brokerage though.
Yeah.
And we were profitable, but the hard part is, even when you're profitable as a business owner in that kind of structure, you're pouring everything back into the business. Yeah. And all of it falls on your shoulders. And I didn't really want to handle the details. I think of EXP, I always say this, it's like if you buy a new computer, but you still want to be able to do business the way you did, and you buy like Office, and you just plug it in and you're like, oh, all the systems are the same. I get to run my business the same. Or for those of us that don't want to handle all the details like the corporate structure, I don't want to handle HR. I don't want to handle the payroll. I don't want to handle those things. I can still, and we still to this day, we have a team, and then we also have an organization. But guess what? I don't have to handle I don't have to handle the details. So Icon, though, for me was the number one reason, as well as the detail piece for coming over, because I still, even when we ran a brokerage, I still paid a cap. I still paid money in. Yeah. And like, let me get this straight. If I'm doing the math right, I can literally run my business there. And I post this constantly, and I talk about this constantly, and people, I think they always feel like it's a bait and switch. And I'll say, okay, if you're a top producing agent in our area, really as somebody, once you're doing about 40 deals, which is not the amount of deals that I was accustomed to doing, but 40 deals, you are a top producing agent. And at that rate, I'd say you pay your cap and then you pay your Icon fee. What you get back in transaction fee, because Michigan, we can charge a transaction fee. That's not everywhere, I realize, but that's pretty standard here. Yeah. And the amount that you get back in that actually at 40 deals surpasses what you've paid in. So I'm like, at 40 deals, you're literally paying yourself $2,500 to run your business here. And I haven't even talked about rev share, and I haven't talked about sale. Yeah. That piece, when people go, oh, but you mean in stock, it could be worth nothing. I'm like, you're right, but I didn't even talk about that. And then the other part is, I didn't get any stock when I worked at Berkshire. I didn't get any stock when we owned our own company, but Icon was number one. So when I came on, I knew our comp plan really well, and that was the thing I picked apart. And so I will never forget, GoGo, who is my sponsor, got a call actually early on. I was only here for like 3 weeks, and they said, why in the world does this girl have all of these referrals going out? And I was already swamped. We had like 20 deals that May pending. And so I said, I'm going to refer these out, and because then I've got more people working at the time, because I came over Icon faster. And so they called her and said, why does she have all these referrals? What is going on? Who did you bring on? This is like 3 years ago. That was crazy. And I said, I understand the comp plan. I capped in 1 month, and I Icon the second month because of being able to refer things out and being able to get transaction costs back. Icon was number one. Number two was the community, though, very simply. Once you're in an area and you are the top or close to the top performing person there, you have nobody else pouring in. And actually, if anything, you have people trying to tear you down. I wanted to be part of a community where I wasn't a threat to other other people and that people were still willing to cheer me on instead of try to tear me down. So that was number 2. And then number 3 is I started this business when I was turning 40. I'm not going to be able to do this forever. I could, but I don't want to. I know that sounds, but most people say, what do you mean? That's crazy. I don't want to unlock doors forever. I love the people, but I love my family more. And so I saw opportunity within EXP to be around that could teach me how to do business differently. And the proof is in the pudding. I was 70 plus deals deep each year, busting my tail, barely seeing my family. And now I can tell you, I didn't work a single weekend last year. I didn't open a single door on a night or a weekend. And I can count on my hand how many buyers I actually took care of myself. I learned how to open a title company once here because I worked with other people that had title companies. I learned how to buy property and run Airbnbs now. I learned how to leverage, and I was never in those rooms before. And if I was, I'll tell you, that franchise owner at Berkshire, he didn't want to tell me how to do all that stuff and make money. And rightfully so, he's a good man. But if I started some of the market share, I was going to take his market share away. Those are my 3 though. Icon, the community, and learning how to be an actual businesswoman versus just a fictional realtor.
And it's so number 1, that's a great list. And I think when you compare running your own brokerage to your organization now, you still provide training, you still provide resources, but you don't have to, right? Because there's so much already given away for free. There's so much that GoGo and having access to GoGo, that she pulls in other people, and there's so much given away for free that, hey, you can do your own, you can put your own spin on it, you could package it for people, but there's so much that, hey, you know what, I'm just giving you access to what other great people have already done, and you get scale out of that. Spend weeks figuring out, okay, how do I write a training course, or how do I write my book? Maybe you want to, right? There's a business owner, there's a lot of other revenue opportunities for you, but somebody's already paved that ground for you, and you can just plug your team into it. And in your state, but across the country, and now the globe, we've always been one brokerage nationally, but now we even have one cap globally, which is absolutely insane. So pretty phenomenal the way they continue to build the company. And
I agree.
So where does your business come from primarily? At this point, are you guys all repeat and referral? Like, where do you get most of your business?
Yeah, so that's a great question. When I was on a team to begin with, and that's probably one of the main reasons that I really looked to leave our broker partnership as well, is because there's so many different ways to build this business. And there's no wrong way, there's just different. And he was very much, and still to this day, is like a Zillow, Realtor, every lead gen that you can imagine, happy to throw money at it. And that just didn't work for me. I did it for about the first 6 months. And I did gain some relationships off of it that I still have to this day that are great. At the same time, it was a very order taker mentality to me, and I didn't like that. I've always said leads and referral business are both easy and both hard. You just got to pick which end of the deal you want your hard on. And you have the hard on the beginning for all of that relationship building, but then it's easy after that. I can send people paperwork and they'll sign it and they've never met me. Yeah. Or it's hard at the end because they've already came to you and now they don't trust you yet. You got to show them 10 houses before they'll sign paperwork. And maybe you're gone on a Sunday or something and they're like, I'm going to switch to a different realtor because you didn't show me a house invite. I have always chose the relationship style of building, and I was okay in the beginning pouring time in because I didn't have the money. So we poured time into relationships here. Well, we've been 100% referral based though, in sphere based for the last 4.5 years. And I will say that has blessed us very well because this turbulence that everybody's felt in the market, it's been a lot softer for us, and we don't have the kind of overhead that a lot of, but again, neither one is right or wrong. It's just the path that I chose. And I think, especially for anyone that's like us, that's in what I would consider a small to medium sized community, it is so easy to go out and spend a little bit of time, like actual intentional time. And it's so hard to make your dollars actually mean something because we're still saturated with realtors.
Sure.
When I came here, I'm like, there's realtors that have been doing this 20, 30 years. Everybody knows them. So I still firmly believe people don't really care what you've done. Like, they don't care that you've sold. I say this with you on here, but nobody cares. None of my clients know how many houses I've sold. They have no idea what my volume is. They want to know that I care. A huge part of our platform is actually giving back to our community in different ways, whether it's service hours or donating part of our commissions. And I will promise you, none of them know how much money we've ever given them, but they know how many times we've shown up to serve with them. They know how many times we've shown up to volunteer with them. And that's been the bread and butter of our business, is building referrals that way.
I love it. And I love your shirt and your team name, that impact. And one of the things I talk a lot about is the industry tells you that the business building is about contacts. It's a contact, and it is, right? You do need to. There's a science behind it, right? You've got to contact a certain number of people. For if you're not making enough, then nothing happens. But really, its impact is more important than contact. It's an impact sport, and the bigger difference you can make in your community, the bigger difference you can make in friends' lives and other people's lives, then that's what really makes a difference. That's what builds a lasting business. So I love that, and I love that you're all about that, because that's a firm foundation.
It is, and it's hard. There's times I found myself at least, falling into like imposter syndrome or like the next shiny thing and going, do we pivot? And every time that we felt that little nudge to ever pivot in a direction that's away from our foundation of just relationships and making an impact on the community, then the business hasn't grown the same way. But I look at it this way: if you are helping the community be strong, if you're helping them, whether it's volunteering or you're giving back or anything, there's so many times that people just need extra hands in the community, whether it's at your kid's school, your church, or whatever it is. That always affects real estate. I said, if we can make a strong community, that's going to make your real estate market so much stronger.
Well, you talked about people not caring about how many deals you've sold. So our church has become my biggest lead. I don't talk about real estate in church. People come up to me and say, hey, can we talk about this? Can we talk about that? Hey, I'd love to. Let's grab coffee, go get lunch, let's go do whatever. That's not why I'm here. But people see you show up, whatever it is, right? You could be coaching your kid's soccer team or volleyball or leading Boy Scouts or whatever the things are that your family likes to do. When you got like-minded people and they see you showing up and serving them, showing up and serving others, then people just, at least the people that you, and it sounds like you and I want to work with, are gone. If that's not their thing, then peace, because we're probably not going to enjoy working with them either. They should find somebody that's going to serve them better, and you're going to have a more enjoyable experience.
Absolutely. And I tell agents that all the time. I say, because there's a lot of times where people say, oh gosh, I love what you do. And we take these big old sweepstakes checks, and so it's eye-catching on social and here in the community. And they'll say, I want to do that. And I go, then do it. One, everything's been done before. Like, copycat is perfect as long as you're copying the right cat. And none of it truly, I say this respectfully, none of it really matters, because it's still the relationship is the coolest. There are plenty of people that do the exact same thing that I do that don't do the business that I do. Heck, the old brokerage that we built is doing the same exact platform that I do today, because that's my brand I built. But they don't do the same business that I do, because that's relationship. And I couldn't agree with you more. There's a young gentleman that came on board with us, and he said, I really like this. And he started talking about the different charities that we already support, that we feel very strongly about. We sit on the boards, we're there to volunteer all the time. And he goes, I could go do that. And immediately I could tell it was almost like a twinkle in his eye, where it was like, it was work for him. Like, to me, that's not work. We'll show up at the food pantry all day long. I was one of those kids. So I have the utmost respect for that organization and want to pour in more time. But for him, I knew it was work. And I said, what do you really enjoy? And we sat down and he goes, oh my gosh, I'm such a sports fanatic. I said that one sentence and he talked for 15 minutes about sports. And I said, find a way to make an impact in sports in our community. There are plenty of people needed to volunteer, to show up. I go, gosh, wouldn't it be awesome if every person you worked with only wanted to talk to you about sports when you're walking through your house? Wouldn't that be cool? And he's like, oh my gosh, yeah. So now his entire business platform is built around serving like-minded people that are pouring into the sports in our community. That's what it's about. You're helping people with the largest material purchase of their life. The house is the end game. But at the end of the day, working with people that know and trust you, that's the core of it. And that happens because you work with people that are like.
That's so great. And there's so many. What a great example. I never even thought of that before, but what a great example. There's the high school sports that all need sponsors and boosters and folks to plug into. There's all the rec and select teams from so many different places. There's pickleball is absolutely exploding, and there's pickleball.
No, I don't understand it either.
You could build a whole real estate business around pickleball.
You could. Absolutely.
Run a pickleball. I think I will. I think we'll have a pickleball tournament and turn that into a community event, and we'll do. So that's just, you really can build a business around your passion and serving people in your passion. That has nothing to do with, hey, let me give you the market stats. Right. We've all got to do some of that stuff. There is a being an expert, knowing your numbers, but really it's all about being in a relationship with folks.
Absolutely. I think the key thing there too is you have to niche down far enough that people hear you. That's the other thing. There's so many times that people say, gosh, I just need to get in the community, and they try. And we have an agent that does fantastic, but she goes to everything all the time. And she's even said to herself that one, you run the risk of burnout yourself as an agent.
Yeah, sure.
But two, you run the risk that if you're trying to talk to everyone, no one hears you.
Yeah.
You have to find who are your people that are really going to go, oh gosh, do you see what Brian said? I really identify with that. That's me. He's talking to me. He helps people like me. Don't be scared to go small in order to go big.
That's so good. That's a drop the mic, land the plane, wrap up the show sort of moment. Don't be scared to go small, to go big. Katie, you've been awesome. It's a pleasure getting to know you a little bit, and thank you for joining me today. Any parting thoughts or comments as we wrap up?
I think the biggest thing right now, because everybody just keeps talking about the market, I just need people to remember that there are millionaires in real estate, maybe in every market. It don't matter what the market's doing. So there's constantly folks reaching out saying, should I get into real estate? And I am like an astounding yes. Get into it. Go all in. If you've been part-time, go all in. There's not a single market there's no such thing as a bad market. It's figuring out how do you serve the people in that market the right way.
So good. Right on. If again, in Middle Michigan.
Yes.
So if you're moving to Michigan, or maybe you just want to connect with Coti, so we'll include links to her in our description. It was awesome getting to know you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. I have a feeling I'll have people moving to Texas before moving to Michigan, but I'm getting a dollar.
I appreciate you. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.